Hello, this is Scott Conway, PhD, JD, with mothersraisingsons.com. We talked about the basic of parenting as leadership, of be the example, and that's a basic fundamental of all leadership. Be the example, explain the example you're being. And of course, some of leadership goes obviously beyond that. But one of the things we're going to talk about today is explain the example you're not being, because sometimes, to be perfectly honest, we're not good examples. Sometimes we have stories in our history where we did things very different than what we hoped for our children. Sometimes it's a matter of a religious conversion. In Christian circles, we hear a lot about, well, that was my BC days. Well, first of all, I'll tell you that a whole bunch of Christians do a whole bunch of things that are basically exactly the same as non-Christians do. So the whole idea, well, that was before I was a Christian, this is after I was a Christian, may have some merit, but that doesn't necessarily define the exact difference between all people. Because sometimes, just to be perfectly honest, we're just not the example of what it is we want to teach our children, and we know that. It can be as simple a thing as, maybe we want our children to not smoke and not drink, but we smoke and we drink. And using that as an example of explaining the example you're not being, one of the things I'll teach the children is how many of you know a grown-up that drinks? And all of them do. How many of you know that as a minor, as someone under the age, in California it's 21, under the age of 21 know that you're not supposed to drink alcohol? And they all put their hands up. How many of you have ever heard of someone not the age of 21, maybe a teenager, maybe in high school or college, but not 21 yet, who drinks alcohol? And all the hands go up again. It says, now, if I drink alcohol and I tell you you shouldn't drink alcohol, doesn't that sound like I'm contradicting myself, a little bit hypocritical? And a lot of them was, well, yeah. It says, well, here's the deal with this. The law says when you're 21, you are allowed to make that decision. The law says until you're 21, you are not allowed to make that decision. Now, because you turn 21, you're not required to drink, but you're allowed to decide for yourself. If you try to make that decision for yourself as a yes before you're 21, you're breaking the law. So is it okay for someone who's 21 years or older to drink? Legally, yes. Is it okay for someone under the age of 21 legally to drink? And that answer is no. So you can have a 21-year-old who drinks telling someone who's not 21 to not drink, and that is perfectly okay. And so they begin to understand some of this. Now, other parts of it can also go to other habit-forming behaviors and shifting from alcohol to cigarettes. My father was a smoker, and he could tell me, don't smoke. Well, one of the challenges he had is, he's giving me all the reasons not to smoke that would equally apply to him. This is all the addition he would have needed. He says, once you get started, it's really hard to quit. This is habit forming. The nicotine in it is addictive. And if you don't ever start, you never have to worry about that. Once you start, now you have to be concerned about it forming a habit, forming even an addiction. And anything that can be addictive or habit forming is bad for you. It's just better if you never even get started, because once you're into it, it's got you. So this cigarette is controlling me because I'm hooked on it. And I want you to be able to be the one in control. I want you to have the power, not some little stick of tobacco to have power over you like it has power over me. And so that's a way to explain the example you're not being. To explain that some things are habit forming, even if they're not strictly addictive. Some things are just flat out addictive. Some things, when you're older, you know better. But some young people think that this is an okay thing to do. So, in explaining some, drug use, that a dad was explaining to his child, it's like, do you see very many 40-year-olds that don't have it figured out? That they either have it figured out, or they're in jail, or some of them have died. It's often the younger people who think that all these things are okay. Well, in that particular young man's case, he found out the dangers of drugs when he and his girlfriend took too much, and then she died of the overdose. Not a way you want to learn the lesson, but a good way to explain a story. So even where you have been a bad example in the past, maybe, you have used drugs, or, who knows, possibly, from time to time you still do, and the kids find out about it. Is how bad these things are and how habit forming they are and how even addictive they are, and they can get you hooked. And that, sometimes I'm just lucky nothing really bad's happened to me, because there's all kinds of destructive things that come with this, and I want better for you. I want you to never get sucked into this, because I realize how powerless I am against this stuff and how much it does to me, even for the stuff that I feel like it's doing for me. So having that power to be able to explain the bad example and to express your regret and your remorse and your powerlessness until you want better for them can help alleviate even where you're the bad example and help you be able to teach effectively without coming off as hypocritical. That you're doing it and you say it's okay for you. You know, what you're saying is it's not okay for me, but you get sucked in and it gets control of you. And just, I wish I had never gotten started, because then I wouldn't have this ongoing battle and I just keep losing. And I want you to win. And this is a fight that once you get stuck in it, it's really hard to win. And I'm not winning, I'm losing, and I want you to be winning. And the best way to win is to not even get sucked in the first place. So even when you're the bad example. Now you want to be the good example everywhere you can and explain the example you're being. But even where you're the bad example, explain the example you're not being and find a way to get it clear so you can continue to explain and lead and teach, even if you find yourself not able to be the good example. This is Scott Conway, PhD, JD, with mothersraisingsons.com.